Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 102 of the Print on Demand Cast. As always, I am Josiah, and joining me for this episode, as has been all 100 and other 102 of them, Travis Ross, my co-host. How's it going, Travis? Happy Monday as we record this, and I make my way through that word soup.
True international effort to pressure.
How's your Monday going? Oh, it's on loop. Make it stop. I gotta make a note to take that off of loop because
I don't know why that's the default on
default
that thing.
I don't get it. It's real dumb. Anyway,
that's
how's your Monday?
Monday is a Monday. It's okay. We're just cruising along in our print on demand fulfillment company, Make Your Mark Design. We are. Yeah, there's just a lot of things going on. I'm actually probably going to be hiring a temporary second shift guy to help come in. Nice. A guy we both know. We used to work for you. Actually, a relation, because
yes.
your family, or you married into like the largest family on the planet. So there's lots of brothers and sisters.
We have no shortage of
uncles and
nieces, nephews, uncles, brothers, cousins, sisters. Of which to make available for.
I was honestly always so jealous of you guys because you never had a problem hiring people. It would just come out of the woodwork.
Always be like, hey, Jason has another nephew. Hey, Jason has another nephew.
Right.
Hey, Jason's niece has a boyfriend. Hey, we have it's just everywhere. Like, hey, we need extra hands around the shop. And this particular guy that we're talking about that's going to work for you, be like, yeah, I'll bring my son in. He'll help me, ship and whatever. And he'd come in and just hang out. And, so it was like, yeah, it's very, for those listening, my father-in-law's family, there's 12 siblings all told, with a wide range of ages. And so that is why there was never any shortage of manpower at any given moment. And the worst part about family gatherings is the photos. I'm just going to say that right now. But anyway, yeah, man, things seem to be going really well, and things are busy, and Q4 is approaching. Very
August
quickly.
1st. As we're recording this, that's 2 months away from actual Q4 beginning, and it's pretty crazy. Oh, you know what I did get today? We finally got it delivered. We bought a new to us pre-treater. We got the pre-treater, the Scholl's pre-treater 4 with the 4 nozzles.
Oh, nice. That's very fancy. Congratulations. I like it.
We're sitting shrink wrapped on a pallet in the back, and we'll be unwrapping it this week and probably bringing it into our workflow, and we'll see how that goes. But pretty excited about that.
Heck yeah, that's incredible. That is, I mean, you used to have one of those, right? In the old Longmont. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, those
That
are very
thing's a
fancy.
beast.
They are beasts.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Love it.
It has 4 nozzles instead of just one. And you can turn the nozzles on and off, and you can adjust how far it goes. So if you have like a left chest, you can turn 2 of them off. It only goes down half the shirt. You use less pre-treat. It's got tubs. You can like have 2 different kinds of pre-treat and bottled water in the side panels. So at the end of the night, you just switch it to the water, and you flush the lines real easy. You don't have to go grab water or anything. I mean, it's amazing. I'm super happy we got that one. And then the current one that we're using will be kind of our backup pre-treater if something goes awry or,
Nice.
Yeah. So that is what's new, I guess. You asked me what's new.
That's exciting. It's always fun to get new toys and new things and it's a good time. That's awesome. Well, for episode 102, we have another thing that's pretty awesome.
That was awesome.
We have, for the first time in what feels like forever, a guest coming on to the Print on Demand cast. It feels like I guess Uncle Mike has been on recently, but
he doesn't
he's
count.
Family. He's literally been giving the moniker of Uncle Mike, even though he is of no blood relation to either of us, just to clarify. Right. But yes, I'm really looking forward to this. Michelle reached out to us, kind of said, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And we thought it would be awesome because we're always open to hearing what someone else is doing, what someone's doing in POD, because it's inevitably going to be different than what we're doing and what anyone else has. So I'm excited, man. We just wrapped up this interview, but before we kind of throw to that interview, anything in particular that you're kind of looking forward to our listeners hearing or maybe learning from this interview with Michelle?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our listeners hearing it. I mean, Michelle, as you'll hear right up front, she just got started when COVID started. So she's, she hasn't been in it for years and years and years. So she's got a fresh perspective, and some of the stuff that she talks about, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought of that. So, to kind of pull the curtain back, well, I guess it's not really pulling the curtain back. You guys know we don't know everything. That's not
what?
I said they know. They know that we don't know everything, and it's just further proved by this interview when I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. But it's cool to get different perspectives from different people and different, things that they're doing. I didn't know anything about the Procreate app really. She kind of goes into that and shares some of that, which is really cool. That's how she does all of her designs. So I think there's several things that our listeners can glean from this interview with Michelle Berry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't want to keep it from you any longer. We're going to go straight into this week's main event, our interview with Michelle Berry. All right, Travis, for this week, the main event is something that I feel like we have not had in a particularly long time for some reason. It has been a minute since we've had a guest, an interview on the show. And so for episode 102, we are bringing a guest on. I'm very excited to talk to her and what she has going on. For those listening, our guest is Michelle Berry. Now, Michelle is the creator of Fiddles and Fern. It's a small business that teaches all about print on demand, the Procreate app, which I'm very anxious to learn what exactly that is because I'm not too sure. But so the Procreate app and Etsy shops. What started as a fun COVID side project turned into a full-blown Etsy shop, a digital course, and a blog. That's awesome. So if you are looking for a way to escape the 9-to-5 job lifestyle, stick around to learn how to start your own Etsy shop using your own digital designs. It feels like she's going to be a perfect fit for what we talk about here on the Print on Demand cast. I'm very excited to welcome to the show Michelle Berry. Michelle, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join two goofballs, as we've previously referred to ourselves as, on the Print on Demand cast.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, it's great to have you on. You reached out to us through our info form and said, hey, here's kind of who I am, what I do. And So we just got a little bitty snapshot. So it's going to be great to get to know you a little bit and hear some of your stories. But before we do that, we do have a tradition on the Print on Demand cast when we have guests.
We do.
And
and this will probably be the only time we ever announce that it's happening.
You're right. You're right, because we've started a new trend where we just insert dad jokes into the middle and no one knows when it happens, as opposed to making a segment. But this time, because we have a guest, Michelle, it's time for the weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right, Michelle, you are the guest.
I hope I don't mess this up. Are you ready?
Yep.
Did you know that mountains are funny, but hills are hilarious? Get it?
Hill areas.
Did I mess it up?
Yes.
Hill areas.
Hill areas.
Areas.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. A little delayed on the sound effect, but I had to.
It's okay.
So it's on loop. Awesome. All right. It's like being
Josiah,
live.
you got one though, right? You got ours.
I
Share
do.
ours.
I do. So for those listening, you may not know this, but I've been working on a book for the last handful of months and trying to kind of get it all mapped out. But it's a book about reverse psychology. Yeah.
Huh.
Please don't buy it. All right.
See what you did there.
Yes. We have a merch store. Please don't buy anything in it. Awesome.
All right. Well,
that was fun.
Yeah, let's jump in. So Michelle, why don't you just start off by kind of telling us a little bit about yourself, like a little bit about how you got into the print on demand game, and just take us back to the beginning.
Yeah. So like you mentioned before, it was had started out as a kind of beginning of COVID and needing a hobby. We all had all this free time and didn't know what to do with ourselves. And my husband had just gotten me an iPad, and I was just doodling on Procreate, which is just a drawing app. You can do a bunch of different art styles, watercolor, gouache, cartoon sketches, like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had started doodling all my designs, and I just threw them up on Instagram, just more as a way to keep record of what I was doing and to see my improvement, and to share it with family and friends. And I started following other creators who used Procreate and started to see how they would put their designs on products like mugs or towels, phone cases, shirts, everything. And I was so curious about how that was possible for everybody, because I thought surely not everybody has the money and space to have all of these products in their house, especially when you don't know if it's going to be a product or a design that will sell. Like there's no way people are going to take the risk to order 50 mugs and then just store them in their house if it's not a design that's going to sell. And so I was like, there's got to be some trick to this that I just am not seeing.
Yeah.
So I started Googling, and I was like, okay, make your own t-shirts. And it would pop up with the big companies, Shutterfly or Vistaprint, or those bigger companies. And I was like, no, that's not that can't be it, because what if I want to sell multiple of these and have it shipped out for me? There's no way all these people are doing all the shipping on their own too. And so I finally found, I can't remember what blog post it was. It was some kind of print on demand website blog post that came up, and it said how to create your own product with your designs. And I'm like, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I need. And so I, went down the rabbit hole of a million different print on demand websites. And gosh, I feel like I watched so many YouTube videos and just found this whole new world of print on demand. And so then something just clicked. It was like, okay, I don't have to ship things. I don't have to hold inventory. I don't have to have all of the startup money. And that was really exciting, because we didn't have startup money and we don't have space in our garage. And it seemed something that was really doable and achievable, and I could do it low risk, especially with COVID. People were nervous to try things because we didn't know what was going on, and it was just a scary time. But I was like, this is something that I can try without really worrying about it. And so I think I started the first mug that I made. It was like a watercolor rainbow, and it said, "You are my sunshine," which is a song that I sing to my daughters. And I was like, I'll just make this for myself and like get one sample to see like what this print on demand experience is like what does it look like once I order something and have it shipped. And so I just made it for myself. And when I got it and realized that this was actually like a nice legit product that people would want to buy, that's when I was like, okay, like we can start this, and I'm going to open up an Etsy shop, and I'm going to start selling my designs. And it kind of just went from there. And 2 years later, we're still selling designs and making new products constantly. And I kind of stick to the same print on demand websites just because I know their customer service and their quality of products.
Sure.
So I've kind of stuck in that same few shops, but yeah, that's kind of how it all got started. And it's great. I'm really glad that I found it and I did all that research.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's a cool story.
Yes, I know you mentioned that you are currently selling on Etsy. Are there any other platforms that you're selling on? Amazon, Walmart, any other kind of platform that you're selling your designs on, or is it strictly just Etsy at the moment?
Strictly Etsy right now. Sometimes I'll sell things through my Instagram. Just if I have like a couple of samples that I had bought that I have at my house, and that I'll just sell those samples after. But right now, just on Etsy. I had opened up my own Shopify before, just so that I could have more control of it. But I really like how Etsy brings in this already huge customer base.
The eyeballs.
Yeah. And that's been really big for me because I don't have a huge social media following. So to be able to get all that traffic, you need to tell people about you. So I really like that Etsy kind of does that for you.
Yeah, you sent me your Etsy shop, so I took a peek, and I was just curious, are all of those items that you have in your store, are they all POD, or is there a percentage that you fulfill yourself? And if so, what is that percentage mix?
All of them but 2. So I do on my own, I make some earring holders and some plant tags. And those are 2 listings out of, I believe I have 112. So everything else is all print on demand. And then just 2 that I do at my house.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's move a little broader. Where do you see like the biggest opportunities in the market right now in the print on demand space?
I think a huge opportunity, even just for me, is people are really loving personalized products, like with custom, especially going into the holidays with like personalized ornaments and personalized like trays and cutting boards. And that's been a really big response that I've had just recently of people wanting customized things. And that's the beauty of print on demand. You can make just one for that person and not have to worry about having a bunch of them. So I feel like for people who are diving into print on demand, that starting out with customized products is a really huge opportunity right now. People are really looking for that just because it's expensive to get that elsewhere. And to be able to have somebody just design it just for you is, I think, a really huge place to be in right now.
So let me just jump in the weeds here a little bit, because my head always goes to the weeds. I don't know why, but I'm just curious how that changes your workflow when you get a customized product, as opposed to something that you just, you're selling your over the rainbow, watercolor mug 100 times, and someone all of a sudden wants their name under it. How does that change your workflow?
It definitely breaks it up a lot. And I feel like that's more so for me in the fall and Christmas season, that I get a lot of personalized ornaments primarily. And it just, it's a completely different workflow. I have to set aside a certain amount of time, but I already have the template of like the rest of the design. It's mainly just changing the names. And so I have it down pretty well where I know exactly what brush and at what brush setting it's at. And I just have to letter out like their name or their dates or their kids' names. And so it really doesn't take up too much extra time. I'd say maybe tops like 5 minutes per customized order. And for me, I mean, that's really valuable because people really like those personalized products around the holidays. So it definitely takes up a lot of extra time, but I love being able to do those kind of products. So
yeah, and I'm sure that extra time increases as we get closer and closer to the holidays.
Yeah.
I've heard we don't do very much, if any, customization. I'm just still trying to figure out, the best way to really scale something like that, and I would think maybe using a virtual assistant, could be one way if you felt like you had the the velocity and the number of sales that it would require to do that.
Right. The hard part with that is most of my stuff is my hand lettering. So I can't necessarily pass that off to somebody because it's my lettering that I write out their names.
Because you're using that app. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that's something like my husband is like, what can I take off your plate? Like, can I make these custom orders? I'm like, well, no, because it's my handwriting. So it's not something I can, pass off to somebody else. But
yeah, I will say I have seen a lot. I don't know the validity, or I shouldn't say validity. I don't know the user friendliness of these things, but there are some things out there, softwares that allow you to actually fill out like a letter sheet, and it will convert your own handwriting to a digital font that you can download into Photoshop.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
So you might look into that because that might, and of course, make sure it's actually a quality rendering of the handwriting, but it could potentially be something. I saw something like that recently, and I thought that was pretty interesting. That they're moving towards that. So you also have a blog, fiddlesandfern.com, that you mentioned as well, and you said that our listeners can go to the website, download the top 10 POD pros and cons for free, but we love to put people on the spot. What we do to our guests. So your choice, dealer's choice here, but what is one pro and one con from that list that you think is important for people listening to know?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, there's pros and cons for each of the print-on-demand companies.
Sure.
So I would say I'll go with one pro for a specific print-on-demand. I am the biggest Printed Mint fan. I don't know if you guys use them at all. But they, in my experience, have the very best customer service and quality of products. Every product that I've gotten from them, the printing has been spot on, great quality, always centered, always right, exactly how I have asked for it, which I have not always gotten with other companies. So I'd say that is my biggest pro, is for people to check out Printed Mint and check out their products because they're awesome. Let's see, the biggest con. Oh, goodness. I think that Printify, their customer service is lacking. So I don't know if I would work with them very much. And they don't always tell you when things are out of stock. And so I've had issues where a customer has bought something and then it goes to automatically approve it, but then it's not in stock anymore. And so that has been an issue for me. What
do you do then?
I usually will message the customer and say, like, I'm really sorry, this company is out of stock and I was not notified. I can either find that same product through a different print-on-demand company, or I'll refund them until Printify has it again. And they're usually, it only has happened a few times, but it's enough times where I don't want to make my customers feel in a weird spot where they need to make that choice of.
That's an interesting like idea. I'd not really thought about, like the hey, we are a print on demand company. Our provider is out of stock of this thing, as opposed to like that's a benefit. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, we're so sorry, we're out of stock of this, and kind of that's an interesting like customer service tip, because the other side of that is like, well, you in the past, 3 years ago, you didn't even know what print on demand was. So have you run into that? I mean, has anybody said, what do you mean print on demand? What are you talking about? They all kind of understand that this is a drop ship product.
Yeah. And people have been very understanding of it. I think a lot of people, as print on demand is getting more popular, I feel like people are understanding that. And I will tell them, I'll be upfront. I'll say, I make the designs and I send my designs to this third party printer and they are going to send it to you. And I feel like I say that in every single message that gets sent out. So that way they're never putting it back on me, because I tell them, once it's out, like once I send the design, it's out of my hands and there's not a whole lot I can do to control what happens past that point. And so I think because I've always been upfront about that, I've never had any issues with people questioning why I'm not able to fulfill something.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talk a lot about on in past episodes when it comes to working in a dropship model like yourself, where you're not physically creating the products, you're just outsourcing it. That managing expectations is huge when it comes to working with your customers. To your point of saying, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you up front, these designs are mine, but the product itself isn't coming from my hands. And so here's how it works. And you're seeing that work because it's curbing a lot of people's hostility towards you. Whereas had you not managed that expectation, had you tried to, which some people do, and I guess there's, pros and cons to this as well, but try and present themselves as a big company that does everything in house and tries not to let them know that they're just two people working out of a home, where you run into that situation all of a sudden where you don't manage those expectations, something goes wrong, and then you try and do damage control and use that explanation, and then the customer is much less willing to listen to you because they think you're just covering it's a CYA thing at that point to them. So
yeah,
that's
especially
awesome.
around the holidays when people are getting kind of tense about like getting orders out on time. I just like Etsy has a place where you can put a message. And so I usually put the message like, hey, this is the time frame that my company is telling me right now. And I just like put it everywhere, messages on my website. I'm like, the more clear I can make it, the less
over communicate it. That is awesome. That's awesome. So Travis touched on a little bit about, when a custom order comes in, how does that change your workflow? And we kind of covered that a little bit, but on a typical day, on an average day, what does that look like in the life of Michelle Berry? What does your pod workflow look like right now?
Man, I am a woman of many jobs these days. So it's kind of a balancing act of all the things. I feel like I don't have a very set workflow. I have 2 young daughters. I've got 2 other part-time jobs, and I'm a teacher. And so it kind of just fits in wherever I can get it in. Usually if it's when I hear the little Etsy ka-ching sound, I'll check my phone really quick and I check to see, is it a pod product or is it one of my plant tags or earring holders that I make at home? And when it's a pod product, most of them that I sell throughout the year are just automatic approvals of designs. And so I just have to log into that website and click on approve, and then I'm done. I'll message the customer and just say like, hey, I submitted your design and it'll be ready in a few days to ship out to you. And I have that message already typed out. So I'm just copy and pasting and changing their name. So I feel like I have that kind of really down so that it's just like a quick couple minutes to approve, send a message and be done. If it is a custom product, I usually save those for nighttime when we're watching Netflix, and I just can really quickly pull up the templates and just letter out their names. So I feel like it really doesn't take up that much time, which is kind of an exciting thing for people who want to maybe be in this space. I feel like most of my POD products are, they're not time consuming. And that's why I think I love it so much and I want to be in this space, is because I can be making this, extra money on the side without having to put in all of that extra time into it. And I can fit it in wherever I can during my day.
Yeah.
So
What about creating new products and new listings and things like that? When does that happen, and how often do you upload new products and designs?
So that would be the time consuming part, is creating the designs. I typically will try. So on my Instagram page, I post almost every other day, like a new design that I've created. And I've been trying to create a design that I can also use on a product. So I try to kill two birds with one stone. I don't typically draw something on Procreate anymore that I can't also put on some kind of product. So usually that happens at nighttime too, when we're watching TV. I'll kind of think of like, okay, I want to add a new mug to my shop. And then I'll pull up a canvas that's the same canvas specifications for that print on demand. And then I'll just create a design while I'm watching TV. And I feel like I do that probably 5 nights out of the week, where I'm constantly making different designs. And then that's usually the same night that I finish the designs, I'll upload them onto a print on demand website, download all the mock-ups, and I kind of just do it all at once just to get it out of the way. So I'll upload it to Etsy, I'll make some mock-up photos, I'll do all of it in one sitting. But I've heard that Etsy puts priority on shops that are posting new products like once a day, like pretty frequently.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. And I'm not at that frequency yet. I would like to be, but that is just a lot of work. And I feel like I'd be putting out designs that I'm not super proud of or think that will be selling well. And maybe that's more so because they're all hand drawn by me. I'm not using, pictures or things from Canva or something. So it's just time consuming to do the actual design. So that's a part of it that I'm a little stuck in.
That kind of actually moves us really well into the next question, because neither Josiah or I really know anything about Procreate. But it sounds like you're using that to create all of your designs or all of the things that you're selling on these products. So tell us a little bit about Procreate. What is it? How do you use it? How does it are you doing like all of this, even listing and everything on an iPad, or are you creating it and then taking it to a computer to, or how does all of that work together?
Yeah. So I use Procreate on my iPad, and that's where I do all of the designs with an Apple Pencil, with the Procreate app. And the Procreate app's really cool because it's only a one-time $10. I think it's $10 or $12 for the app. And then once you're in the app, there are a million different like brushes that you could buy. So you could go on to Etsy or Creative Market or buy different brushes depending on what kind of art media that you want to use. And so I primarily do watercolor brushes and gouache brushes on Procreate, but people do like all sorts of, like you're showing on there, like there are different sketching or anime or cartoony, or you could do any kind of art style. You could do lettering on there. And so on Procreate, I do everything. I do all of my own hand lettering, my own painting, my own drawing. It's a really, really amazing, powerful app that you can create with. And so that's where I create everything. And so I'll typically look at the print on demand website to see what size my canvas needs to be. And then I create that canvas size in Procreate and then create the design. And then once it's all said and done, I export it to my computer to create the listings and everything, and to make the
mock-ups and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But all of the artwork is done in Procreate, which I really like, just having the control over it and knowing that it's my own design, because I get nervous about Etsy with like copyright issues, and it just makes me feel better that I know that I've drawn it all and that they're all my own designs. But I mean, there's a million classes that you can take that teach like different styles of art on Procreate. So it's awesome.
That's really cool that you do all your designs. Last week we were just talking about different ways you might want to, like your kind of your why or what you're trying to accomplish. And one of the one of the ideas was, somebody who wants to monetize an existing skill. And it sounds like that's kind of exactly what you've done. You've got this skill with Procreate and decided to monetize it with the print on demand stuff. And even further, it sounds like, you're doing this blog, you've got a course for Procreate and all of these things. You're taking this skill and really trying to maximize the value of it in the marketplace. That's super smart. That's really cool. Are there any best practices for Procreate that maybe you could share, or is it kind of on a case by case basis? How does that work?
I think just starting by finding, there's a lot of artists who have created free courses to learn the ins and outs of the app. And just because there are so many like technical pieces to the app and knowing how to manipulate different art styles on there. And so I'd say just starting out with a free course that teaches you those foundational skills, because once you've got those down, then you're free to create literally anything. But I felt like when I first started and I didn't know those foundational skills, I was drawing these super basic things and not understanding why my artwork wasn't looking like other people's, just in terms of the different ways that they were able to manipulate it. So that would save a ton of time, is just by finding a foundational skill course that you can dive into, learn all of that, and then go from there.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen a lot, or Procreate on a lot of like, there's particular TikTok accounts that are they just live stream their iPad screen and them drawing something, or there's a lot of that. So now I know what app they're using, because I've always thought that's very interesting. It's very complex, looks super cool. The stuff they're doing is crazy. So
it is really cool.
That's awesome. We off camera, or off the record, I guess you could say, we talked about things kind of getting busier as Q4 is arriving, the biggest months of the year. I always have said that in print on demand, our calendar year is actually December to December. That's how we plan these types of things. So as we approach this, it's very close. It's frighteningly close, actually. As we approach the biggest selling months of the year, what tips would you have for our listeners to maximize profits during this time?
My biggest piece of advice is to, of course, get your designs done early, but to also get samples of each thing if you can. If it's in your budget, to order one of each design, because I have found the most success when I'm able to take real life photos with it. I think people can tell the difference between mock-up photos that I've made on Canva or Procreate or whatever versus, one that's in my home and that I can take a video of it. And so my best-selling products during the holidays have been ones that I've ordered one of at home, and then I take pictures of it. I show it on my Instagram story. I'll post it on TikTok, and kind of just have people see it in my hands and in my life versus just those mock-up photos. So I actually just got so early, because it's only August, but I just got 2 ornaments sent to my house the other day. Because I want to be ahead of schedule, but I mean, it really has been so helpful just to have those products in my hand, and people can see that it's, it's a real legit quality product. It's not just something that they're like, oh, Michelle's just ordering it. She just sends in her design and a company sends them out, and it's just like not great quality. But when they can really see it, I have found the most success in that, especially on Etsy. My products with real pictures that I've taken are much higher selling than the ones that are just mock-up photos from print on demand sites.
Sure. I feel like I need to set the record straight. When you said it's just August, I feel like I'm already nervous. Okay. It's 2 months away and it's Q4. It might only be October of Q4, but it's still Q4. It's gonna be here before you know it. But I love that idea of ordering, your own products to do some lifestyle photos that and even videos. Etsy allows the videos now, and you can do a lot of cool things with that. Because if you use like we use have used and still continue to use placeit.net for a lot of mock-ups and things like that. They
Uh-huh.
even have videos now, but
Oh,
they're all the same. You know what I mean?
right.
Or they're not
Yeah.
all the same, but a lot of them are. And so, we've got coffee mugs and it's like every single video is the same. It's they're just pouring
Yeah.
it in, as opposed to
Yeah.
somebody holding it and, taking a drink and waving at the camera,
Right.
or, something
Yeah.
that's a little unique. I can see how that would potentially drive more sales or at least more clicks through to your
Totally.
product.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Especially, yeah, I so I'll buy those products and then I don't need all of those mugs at home. And so it's kind of a nice way to like have products to do giveaways if you're on social media,
Mm-hmm.
or, Instagram and TikTok, very much pushing videos that you create on your own. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to have those in hand and create those videos has been really great for my engagement on social media versus, if I'm only sending them out from the POD
Right.
to my
Mm-hmm.
seller, I don't have anything to make that content with. So
Yeah.
it's definitely hard to put that money up front if you don't have it. But to me, it's been worth it in the long run to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool idea. So you're amassing a following on Instagram with, your Procreate drawings, but then every once in a while you can throw out a giveaway and
Right. Yeah.
so they have more reason to pay attention, I guess, when you post, which
Yeah.
is, our attention is what everybody wants to buy anymore. So
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really that's smart. Josiah, do you think it's time for the magic questions? What do you think, buddy?
Oh man.
I do, but I am curious as to the name Fiddle and Ferns. Where does that come from? What's the inspiration behind the name?
Those are just two of my favorite plants. So the fiddle
Okay.
leaf fig and then a fern.
All
But
right.
sadly enough, both have died in my house. So
Oh no.
at the
I
time
was
that I made the name, they were like flourishing and beautiful and, little
Yeah.
kids
I was
shaking on
really
them.
hoping that you were going to tell us you were a fiddle player and
Yeah.
you were going to break
I
out your
do get that
violin
question. Yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. All right. Yeah. So we have a set of questions that we ask each individual guest when they come on. And there's not really any knowledge. We don't really give you a heads up as to what they will be, but it's fun for us because we get just kind of collect the data and people's opinions, and whoever's the most accurate will win a prize. Just kidding. That's not going to happen. But what is going to happen is we're going to go straight to the magic questions.
I always love that there's little t-shirts on all the turrets, and that bumper. I think that's pretty clever.
It has been so long since we've played that bumper, actually.
I know.
So
I know it is.
yeah, and running record, knock on wood, never been flagged for it when we upload it to any platform. So that's nice. So okay, let's see. First magic question: tell us about a time when something happened in your business that felt like a failure and how you overcame that.
Okay, so like you mentioned, I created a course that teaches people how to take their Procreate designs or really any digital designs and how to open up an Etsy shop and sell their designs through print on demand. And this was a process that took me a long time to create this course. I was really unsure of myself, really unsure of how to create a course, super anxious about it. And I finally finished it and I was so proud of myself. And I was like, this thing is going to sell tons of people are going to buy my course because who doesn't want to know this? And there are so many people that use the Procreate app. And I was like, surely this is going to be a big hit. And I was kind of banking on it because, when funds are low, you work yourself up to do something to make some money. So I had this big expectation that my course was going to be this like top seller course. And I published it. And I think I only posted a little bit to my Instagram. I know I could have done better, but I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to have a handful of people that buy this. And nobody bought my course for the first like 2 weeks. And it was really a letdown. I thought for sure this was going to be this big course. And so one person bought it and I got really excited because it was a complete stranger. And I was like, wow, this complete stranger who doesn't follow me on any social media bought my course. And then a couple days later, another person bought it. And then I had this really long stretch again where nobody bought it. And I was so frustrated because I had, poured all of this energy into it. And I had told myself, like, when I first started learning about print on demand, I poured so much time and energy into researching this whole process. And I told myself, I'm going to make this course so that other people don't have to do the same thing as I did.
Right.
They won't have to start from the very beginning and spend countless hours researching it. And so I felt like I was offering this great material, which I am. But at the same time, I didn't do a good job of advertising it and getting people on my email list to see it and showing people what the course was. I just kind of like threw it up and was like, why aren't people buying it?
Right.
So to me, it felt like a huge failure. But then my husband said, the fact that 3 people bought it without knowing you, and without following you, then like there's something to that. Like if you can get 3 people who don't know you, don't follow you, and they buy this course, like there's something of value there. And it's just a matter of getting it in front of the right eyes and the right people. And so I feel like my overcoming it has just been sticking with it, and to know like it might not have sold at the beginning, but now that it's picking up, it's like, okay, there is value there, and just being able to stick with it. Like we can't all expect to be really huge on social media and have people who like see it once and, buy it right away. That's not the reality for most people. And so just being able to kind of be patient with that and to know like that it'll come in time. It's just not as quick as you would think, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, it takes a lot to make a course, for sure. I mean, I've dabbled in that in the past and done some other things with email lists and all of that. And there's just a whole lot of moving pieces.
A lot,
and you really
yeah.
do spend a lot of time, not only just creating the course material, but like, well, how do you post this without people just being able to, there's got to be like a membership site or a paywall of some sort, and all of those things that you have to kind of figure out if you're not already in that space.
Right.
So I know for a fact of, the amount of time that it takes to actually create one, and then you launch it and crickets, and that's very painful. So I feel for you. Let's go to another magic question. If you had to start all over and lost all of your current contacts, what would you do first? You don't have an Etsy account anymore, but all of your stuff, but you don't have an Etsy account. You don't have a business. You have nothing. You lost all your current contacts. What are you doing?
I would not spread myself so thin and really focus on like one social media platform and my email list, and that's it. When I jumped into it, I was doing all the things I was doing. Well, I still am. I need to stop. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, email list, all of it. And it's okay, but I feel like I'm not getting as much quality content because I'm trying to create for all of these different areas. And so I feel like if I were to start over, I would pick just one of those social media platforms and really dedicate my time to building up that following. And then to really build up that email list, because people will always say if your social media disappears or something happens, email is never going anywhere. So you'll always have that email list to bring back up and say, hey, like my Instagram got closed or hacked or whatever, go find me elsewhere. And so you'll always be able to have that communication with them still. And I think that's something I kind of started later in the game, and I haven't spent as much time, is trying to build up that email list so that if something happens, you have that still. So yeah, I think dedicating to one social platform and really spending time nurturing your email list.
Nice. Yeah. I like that answer. The last one that we have for you is one that we tried to ask everybody as well, kind of the ending question, but it requires you to kind of put on your turban and look into your crystal ball and forecast as accurately as possible. What do you think the future of print on demand is?
Oh gosh.
I know it's a very niche and specific question. There's no way you can go anywhere with it.
I know. I feel like it's becoming so popular to do print on demand because people are seeing how easy it is to create their own designs. And I feel like I'm starting to see more small print on demand shops that are offering kind of more not as generic products, like just a mug, like and I feel like I've started to see even local ones. To me, I'm in California, and we have some local print on demand shops that are kind of starting to pop up, that I feel like people are going to start partnering more with smaller local shops versus big box ones like Printful and Printify, which is kind of exciting to me because I feel like you'll be able to get not only better prices, but different products. I mean, I know there's a million different print on demand products that you could get, but I kind of like working with the companies that don't have as many products because they're not spreading themselves as thin. So that has been something that's been on my mind lately, that I feel like there's going to be some smaller local ones that I think you can have more of a personalized relationship with them versus some big ones.
Josiah.
Well, I can
sounds
tell
like we should insert a commercial right here.
I was just going to say, like, I feel like we here at Make Your Mark Design would completely agree with that statement and support it 100%, a local print provider here in Colorado. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I don't even know if Michelle actually realized that we are a print fulfillment company. So we actually we have 6 different printing methods. We do all the mugs and all the shirts, but we also have some pretty cool stuff that different that is different than, like you said, than the kind of run-of-the-mill print on demand stuff. Now, but I totally agree. We tell people a lot there, look in your own neighborhoods, support that small business, but also, to your point, they are going to have, someone's going to pick up the phone when you call.
Exactly.
You can have that personal relationship. And then also, like, to your point, there might be some unique things that you can get done through that print on demand company that, a Printful or a Printify or all these other companies aren't necessarily going to be so keen to jump through those particular hoops.
Right.
So insert makeyourmark.design commercial here. And thank you for we teed that up and you just knocked it right out of the park unknowingly.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah, I was not scripted. Like, we did not tell her to shoot. That was, she was not under duress. That was completely of her own volition what she had said. Yeah, Michelle, thank you so much again for coming on to the show. Before we wrap this interview up, please take time and tell people where they can find you, your blog, your course, social media, your shop. Let everyone know where they can find you and connect.
Yeah, so my website is just fiddlesandfern.com, and through there you can find my blog. My course is on there. And for you guys listening, there is a discount for 40% off if you use the code FF40 to get 40% off the course if you want to learn how to use any digital design to print on Etsy through print on demand websites. And so you can find me there. And then all of my socials are just Fiddles and Fern. So on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, if you just type in Fiddles and Fern, I will be there. And that's about everything.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so much fun. And I know you said you don't do this stuff very often, but we definitely had a great time with you. And we look forward to catching up again and doing this again here and finding out how things have grown, how things have progressed, how your business has not died like the plants that they were named after, but how they have continued to thrive unlike the plants that they were named after. So
we'll get new ones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank Michelle again for taking time out of her schedule to come and join us on the Print on Demand cast for episode 102. That was a fun interview. I mean, obviously, I think it was one of the first ones where neither you or I really were familiar with the person necessarily. They reached out to us. I don't think that's happened. That dynamic has really happened often with the guests that we book for the show, because usually it's someone that we have a connection with or you're familiar with. So it was really cool to have someone come on that wasn't really on either of our radars and have, like you said in the intro, really, really cool ideas that are kind of out of the box of our thinking. So overall, I really, really enjoyed that interview. So it was really good.
Yeah, it's always good to, hear perspective from somebody who, from both sides, from somebody who's further than you and somebody who isn't quite as far as you, or maybe not far as you is fair, but like hasn't been doing it as long, or somebody who's been doing a lot longer. I think you can glean a lot from that, because we do get tunnel vision a lot of times when we're just kind of staying in our lane and just moving forward, and trying to get stuff done every day. It's refreshing to hear some different perspectives on things, and it makes me just realize it'd be really great to just get more interviews on the show, because every single time somebody comes and they've got a new thing or something we haven't thought about, every time we're the first listeners, like we've said in the past. And I'm especially thankful to Michelle for just knocking that softball right out of the park when we asked her the crystal ball question. And she said local print on demand companies are the future. And
that was awesome.
Here we are.
Yeah. If we haven't said it enough, and if you've gotten sick of us hearing it, you just heard Michelle say it. So, I mean, I think we're good. I think that covers it. That's official. It's official. The future. Yes. No, but I agree, man. I think getting more interviews. I mean, obviously interviews, getting them lined up are a little bit more intensive as far as the planning goes, because you have to kind of reach out in advance and book accordingly. But I do think that it's nice to hear from. I'm sure it's nice for our listeners to hear from someone else other than us. For sure.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it can be a lot of fun to get more interviews going. So thanks again to Michelle. And as always, for those listening, we will put the links to all of her social media, her blog, her course, all of that stuff, her Etsy shop. We will put those links in the show notes for you, so that you can have a way to access them directly from your phone right after listening to the episode. So have no fear. We will take care of that for you. So Travis, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
I don't think so. It was great having Michelle on. That was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm going to try something new for my spiel, and I'm going to throw some of this music that is built in underneath me while I sign off this particular episode. So thank you guys so much, as always, for listening to the Print on Demand cast. We greatly appreciate it. We are available wherever there are podcasts. The POD cast is there for you. Stitcher, iTunes, Google, Spotify, Anchor. Who knows what else is out there? SoundCloud, is that a thing? You drop your demo tape on SoundCloud. You can drop our podcast on SoundCloud, just like this track is probably from SoundCloud. So please don't go to SoundCloud. I don't think podcasts are available. It's just a terrible rabbit trail that I've gotten myself onto because I decided to play music. I digress. If you want to reach out to us and contact us and communicate and join the family and the conversation and the community, you can always go to printondemandcast.com/Facebook, and we will add you to the group. There's also a page that you can like as well. But the group is where you can get in on the conversation, send us a dad joke, or ask us a question, or recommend a guest, or any of that. We are more than open to. Just be sure you answer the questions when you request, because if I get a membership request that hasn't answered any of the questions, I'm not gonna approve it, because I need to know that what we want to know. You know what I'm saying? we need to be on the same page. So, but yeah, that's where you can go to do that. We're also on Instagram, printondemandcast.com/Instagram and /YouTube. Is where you can find more of our content. Printondemandcast.com is where you can go for the general website. And if you want to email us because you hate social media or you're just not on it, info@printondemandcast.com is where you can go for that as well. And we will be happy to communicate with you that way as well. And also about the podcast thing, Apple Podcast, 5-star review. Give us a comment. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you really love. Leave out what you don't like. And we will be sure to shout you out on the show. We're very particular about the things we shout out. But as long as there's a 5-star review, in all honesty, can I be transparent? If there's a 5-star review, we'll probably read mostly anything that's left as a comment because we're glad that you give us a 5-star review, and it satiates the need to be loved through this podcast platform. But in all seriousness, it helps the algorithm. It helps this content get to people who need to hear it, who are just beginning in their journey, or maybe they're in the pod journey and they haven't heard from our guests. They haven't heard some of the stuff we've covered, but they could definitely benefit from it. It helps us get in front of those people, helps us get in their ears, which is a term I will probably never use again. It just helps us get in front of the right people. The algorithm does. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. We're 2 episodes away from episode 104. I don't know what 104 is going to be yet, and neither do you. So no expectations is basically what I'm going to get. That's my shot right there. Just, we're not going to tell you, and you'll be surprised with whatever turns up. So, Travis, anything else before we go?
Oh my gosh. I think you covered all of it and then some.
I think I did. I'm a little lightheaded. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.